here, Mr. Wallace. Over here, over here.
We're ready? Okay. Good evening. Welcome, citizens of Pahokee, to our first City of Pahokee Town Hall meeting. I am Sanquetta Williams. I am going to be your moderator today for the Town Hall meeting. I'm going to be the moderator for today. Before we get started, we have a few ground rules that we're going to go over. We're going to be respectful of everyone. We're not going to be bashing anyone. We are here to talk about the updates of our community, how we can move forward, and how we can continue to prosper the city of Pahokee. We are all here for the same cause. We want to make sure that we're respectful of each other, and any questions that we have, we're going to have a question and answer session at the end after we give all the updates on the projects. And at this time, we're going to open up and we are going to have a prayer given by Everett McPherson. And after that, we're going to have the pledge. Everett McPherson, please, with the prayer.
Could we stand, please? Oh, gracious and eternal God, we come to you with bowed heads and humble hearts. We come to see about the business of our dear city. We ask that you just bless everything that's being said here today, Father, that everything that's done decent and in order, Father. But most of all, Father, that you give us the wisdom, and each and every one of our commissioners and city workers the wisdom to move this city forward, Father, that we will be prospering, that we will be a city that you will be proud of, Father. We just thank you and we just give you glory, Father. We ask that you just cultivate our hearts and our mind, Father, so that we'll be on one accord. And even if we have to agree to disagree, Father, let it be done decent and in order. In the mighty name of Jesus, we give you thanks and we give you praise. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Okay, next, we're going to have an introduction. I'm going to let you know who we have here tonight from the city that's on our panel that we're going to be referring our questions to. And I am going to start on the far end with Commissioner Bowden. First, we have Commissioner Bowden. He's our newest elected commissioner. And we're going to give each commissioner and each person an opportunity to say something. Commissioner Derek Bowden.
I'm excited for the people who are here. I understand that the weather is kind of bad right now, hoping that more citizens come in and actually be a part of this town hall. It's for the citizens. Thank you to those who are watching on Facebook. Hopefully we have a nice, productive, constructive town hall today. Thank you.
Next, we have Mayor Babb. That's next to Commissioner Bowden. Mayor Babb.
Good evening. Good evening, and thank you for coming out to our quarterly town hall meeting. One of the things that we pledged during this past election was to have regular town hall meetings to keep our residents informed and updated about the progress that's being made, and most importantly, to give you an opportunity to express any concerns, any thoughts, any ideas that you have that would assist us in moving this city forward. We only is 5 city commissioners and staff. We can't do it alone. We're needing your help. We're depending on your help. We're looking for your input, and we're requesting your input. So this is an opportunity for you to share those thoughts and ideas with us. It is being streamed live for those who are unable to attend the meeting in person. but this is something we want to do on a quarterly basis to keep you informed and be transparent with everything we do in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Babb. Next, we have Vice Mayor Clara Mervin.
Good evening, citizens. I am excited also to be here tonight. We thank all the citizens that did take the time to come out and rough through this weather that we're having. But again, like the Commissioner Bolden and Mayor Babb have said, we do this to inform our citizens on what's going on. Again, to show transparency, to let everyone know exactly what's going on, and that if you have a question or if you have any concerns, that the doors of the commissioners, the doors of the City Hall is always open. There is no question that cannot be answered. If we don't have it, we will get that answer for you. But so I am excited to let our citizens know what's going on in their city. I think once we are informed of what's going on, we can work together hand in hand better. So I thank all of you that came out tonight, and the ones that might be coming, and the ones that are also watching on the YouTube. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Commissioner Johnny Gonzalez.
How's everybody doing? Thank you for showing up, and those who showed up, and those people on YouTube watching us. I want to say I'm grateful for the citizens that did show up. We're here. You're our boss. Let us know what your concerns are and your questions, and we're here to help you out.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. Next, we have Deputy City Manager Jocelyn Adams.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jocelyn Adams. Welcome, and thank you for coming out. And I will be going over the projects as they are currently taking effect.
Thank you. And next, we have Interim City Manager Rodney Lucas.
Good evening, City of Pahokee. I welcome you all out, and thank you for attending, and we look forward to receiving your input, direction, and honest dialogue on where we're trying to go. We look forward to going over the updates of where the city's at on city projects and ARPA Advisory Committee update.
Okay, thank you. So what we're going to do at this time, we're going to get into the city updates, and as Jocelyn and Mr. Lucas are getting into the updates, if you have any questions, you can jot them down, because we will have at the end where you're able to ask questions to anything that they may be going over that they may have. So you will have an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. So at this time, we're going to let them get started on the projects that we have going on in the city right now and give updates.
We're going to start with the Department of Community and Economic Development and an update of previous and current projects that we have and have received funding for. I'll turn it over now to Ms. Adams. Click. Next.
Barfield Highway. So as many of you all know, that Barfield Highway is already under construction. Barfield Highway is a $4.5 million project, and that project includes the design, construction, as well. So the design and the construction are a part of the $4.5 million. And that 4.5 also includes a CEI, which is certified, our construction engineer inspection, who oversees the project. We also have water lines, a forced water main and water lines that are going down, and that part is being funded through Palm Beach County Water Utility District. This project is currently under reconstruction and is scheduled to be completed June 2023. The reconstruction runs from 7th Street to East Main Street. This project also includes, as I said, the water main throughout Barfield Highway. It includes sidewalks, curving, and striping. Funding of the water utilities is an interlocal agreement that we currently have with Palm Beach County to cover those water lines, those forced water mains. So if you have currently driven down Barfield Highway, you see that your road has been constructed and is being constructed. It has been paved. So many of you are already traveling, I believe it's from 4th down to 7th, are already driving down a road that is paved, and you can see where sidewalks have been put down. So we still have a ways to go, but the project is taking place. And so with that project, many of you all may wonder why there were stops and starts throughout the project. Well, towards the end of 2021, there was currently no one in the Community and Economic Development Department. And because there was no one currently in that department, which this project currently runs out of, we were unable to submit pay apps, make sure that our contractors, Rosso Development, Site Development, which is the construction contractor, as well as Momentum, who is the CEI contractor, the overseer engineer for the project, were not able to submit pay apps. Those pay apps were not able to be submitted to FDOT because there was no one in that department to process those payments. So we are currently back in motion. Payments have been made. Construction is running. We have change orders that are taking place. There's also the current change orders also had to do with things that take place underneath that no one sees, such as water lines that have been severed. They had to be reestablished. Everyone knows that it is hard to get materials. The cost of everything is going up. So that also played into a factor of why construction was not taking place. So we're hoping that by June 2023, your road will be complete. You do have to remember during the rainy season, we live in South Florida. So construction may stop because of the rain. Our contractors cannot be out in the rain repairing a road, fixing water lines if it is raining. So just take that into consideration. We're also trying to make sure when it is dry that we are wetting the road so that we understand that dust flies and it's taking over for those of you all that live on Barfield. You have a lot of dust on your cars, on your animals, so we're trying to make sure we keep those roads saturated. All right, next are the infrastructure improvements for the roads and the street. FDOT Phase 4 is a $210,000 allocation that we get from the Florida Department of Transportation. With those funds, we only receive $210,000, and that only covers resurfacing. It is not reconstruction, it is resurfacing. So that means you basically get a new layer on top of an already existing road. The streets that will be resurfaced are MLK Boulevard, West 5th Terrace, West 2nd Street, West 3rd Street, all the way to South Lake. So we're hoping to have that scheduled for summer 2022. So a bid will go out so that we can go ahead and get those streets paved. Our streets, we have a list of streets that we try to prioritize within the city, and we understand that all of our streets need work, needs repair. So we try to prioritize. So if we have not gotten to your street, know that we are working on getting to those streets. We have about between 72 to 75 streets within our city. So, and as the mayor has stated before, previously throughout several commission meetings, we have done several streets. We've done the Shive Island community. We have done, I'm drawing blanks, but we have done a couple of streets over in the, off of Amaryllis. So we're trying to make sure we get to those streets. Okay. Sidewalks. We understand that we have sidewalks that are in really bad disarray. We have sidewalks on Buddy Wright where the FP&O poles are being lifted up under the ground because we live in a community where we live on the muck. So foundations shift, and due to over time the wear and tear and no maintenance occurring, we have to take care of our sidewalks. So we have phase 1 of our sidewalks, which will be in the process. In the next couple of weeks, you'll actually see whether it is the contractor or our Public Works Department working on sidewalks. So we have 4th to Anona to Banyan that we're looking at currently doing some sidewalk reconstruction on, Buddy White and Begonia. And so with these streets that I just named, that's phase 1, and we will be utilizing surtax dollars. $100,000 has been already allocated for those streets. Phase 2, we're looking at to do the streets in the East Lake Village area. And so the funding source has not yet been determined, but we do have some of those items identified on our ARPA list, and Mr. Lucas will speak more about that later on. Okay. McClure reconstruction. We have received funding for the reconstruction of McClure, and that's $933,943. The department is working on the bid process. That contract has been signed. We've got an extension for the time with FDOT. So I'm hoping to have that scheduled and advertised late summer, early October, that it will go out to bid. And we understand that McClure is a badly needed road, but know that it is happening next. So it may be working simultaneously with Barfield Highway. So know that when we are doing construction, we make sure the maintenance of traffic, we will make sure we do a better job this time of getting the information out exactly when we will start construction. We'll be knocking on doors to let the residents know that, what process we're in, when we will start the maintenance of traffic, so then that way everyone is aware of which way we're entering, which way we're exiting. We also have MLK Park Improvement Project, and that is $250,000. That was funded by the FDEP. That project is right now in the process of development. We're in communication with FDEP so that we can submit the information. With that project, we will have a new playground and reconstruction of a walking path. And so we're hoping to have that advertised in late summer. But there are things that take place, such as when we submitted for this project, it was a legislative request. So there's a work plan and an entire work plan that requires measurements, that requires a map, that requires some costs that we have to submit. So we're working in the background, even though you don't see things taking place. We are on the back end submitting the various information. And it is not an easy process. It doesn't happen overnight. And we're also currently upgrading our MLK Park. The concession stand and the restrooms are right now actually having lighting. New lighting is going to be installed on the exterior as well as the interior. I believe we have done some painting inside of the concession stand, and we put up some more drywall within those restrooms. So things are taking place. We're trying to bring us up to the 21st century and making sure that we're working efficiently but cost effectively to make sure that things take place. We understand that we're living in times where costs have risen substantially, so we're looking at what's the best way to move forward with all of our projects. And we also want to make sure that when we do these projects and we've completed these projects, we want to make sure that our residents understand that we must take care of these projects so that they last so much longer. I do want to back up and say that even with McClure and East Lake projects, when we're doing construction and there's areas that you may see that the storm drains have been pulled out and they're set to the side, please do not dump. Do not dump in the areas that we're doing construction, because it looks as though we're leaving a mess, and we're not the ones leaving the mess. We need to make sure that the community is working with us and working together, making sure that we're not dumping in the areas that our contractors are trying to work in, because that slows up the process. Many of you all may not be familiar. We received a grant from a federal grant from Environmental Protection, EPA, and that grant was for Brownsville. And the Brownsville is any old gas station, dry cleaners. We live in a community that there was a whole world before we ever got here that existed. So we had several gas stations, dry cleaners, mechanics, auto body stores in our area. And so with that, we were able to get funding to identify those areas that were brownfields. So we're on the tail end of closing that out. I believe we have about $25,000 that we're hoping to be able to, in the Community and Economic Development Department, so that we can go to a training to get better understanding so that we can apply for the next round of funding to apply for those cleanup grants. Next is East Lake. My apologies. East Lake Village Stormwater Improvement. The city is currently working on the FDP. Towards the summer of last year, 2021, we received a grant from FDP that we started. We put the contract out with Ryobock. So with Ryobock, we were doing construction, storm drain improvements, and that was $750,000 that had been allocated from FDP that we received funding for to be able to install new storm drains. We are in the process of getting that started again. I have been in conversation with FDP as well as with Ryobock. For you all who live in the East Lake Village area, you may have seen Ryobock or some of the other companies out in the last week, people that maybe you didn't recognize. They're looking at what needs to be started again. We're trying to pick up where we left off. So that is currently in process. As I said, I've spoken with FDP. I have to submit a report to FDP. That includes pay apps. I have to find out where we left off with paying Ryobock, because again, there was no one working in the CED department, Community and Economic Development Department, which all processing of payments for construction comes out of CED department. It does not come directly from finance. It comes out of our department. So if there was no one in that department, payments could not be made, reports could not be submitted to FDEP. So as I said, we are currently in conversation with FDEP. I have spoken with Ryobock. We're trying to revisit our contract, taking into consideration the costs have gone up, so making amendments and being able to move forward. So we're right now in the process, and I'm hoping in the next few weeks that we can pick up where we left off. MLK, I think I spoke about MLK project, and again, that's funding from FDEP, and that's for upgrades and improvements to the park. Project 647, the old house on Bacon Point Road. The funding source is Solid Waste Authority. There is $80,000 that we received for the demolition of the old house. $40,000 of that money has already been received. When we work with FWA, depending on the amount, we get our funding is broken up in disbursement. So we had half of that disbursement, I believe it was received last summer, early summer, and it was $40,000. That $40,000 is still sitting in the bank, is still sitting as a line item and has not been expended. When we submit our bid, when I put the bid out, which I'm hoping will be next week, but you also have to remember there's only 2 people who work in our department that we send out the bids, so it does take time. So I'm hoping that next week we will have that bid out, but that project is $80,000. We cannot expend any, we're trying not to expend over $80,000 so that we know that we have those costs covered for the demolition of that house. Anything that exceeds the $80,000 will come out of city funds, and I'm not trying to let that happen. And that is all of the projects, current projects that we have going, that you're able to identify and see taking place in the city right now.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Next up is an update on the American Rescue Act Plan, or Plan Act, sorry, ARPA. So where we're at this point is the city of Pahokee has received, back in 2019, we received approximately $3.2 million of federal aid to be distributed to the city of Pahokee and us to pass through for programs such as, and I'll read through our list so the community understands: acquisition of equipment for COVID-19 prevention and treatment, adaptions of congregate living facilities, affordable housing, supportive housing or recovery housing development, behavioral health facilities and equipment, child care, daycare, and early living facilities, COVID-19 testing sites and laboratories, and acquisitions of related equipment, COVID-19 vaccination sites, devices and equipment that assist households in accessing the internet, such as tablets, computers, or routers, emergency operations centers and acquisition of emergency response equipment, things such as emergency response radio systems, food banks and other facilities, improvements to existing facilities to remediate lead contamination or removal of lead-based paint, installation and improvement of ventilation systems, jobs and workforce training centers, medical equipment and facilities, medical facilities generally dedicated to COVID-19 treatment and mitigation, such as emergency rooms, intensive care, etc., mitigation measures in small businesses, nonprofits, and impacted industries such as developing outdoor space, parks, green space, recreational facilities, sidewalks, pedestrian safety features like crosswalks, streetlights, neighborhood cleanup, and other projects to revitalize public space. public health data systems, including technological infrastructures, rehabilitation, renovations, remediations, cleanup, and conversions of vacant or abandoned properties, schools and other educational facilities or equipment to address educational disparities, technology and equipment to allow law enforcement to efficiently and effectively respond to the rise in gun violence resulting from the pandemic, technology and tools to effectively develop, execute, and evaluate governmental programs. Just a few more. Technology infrastructures to adapt government operations, temporary medical facilities and other measurements to increase COVID-19 treatment capacity, transitional shelters such as temporary residence for people experiencing homelessness, and other items. So we have, since the receiving of monies, earlier this year we received an allotment of half of our money, so it's a little over $1.5 million. To date, we've spent a little over $17,000 in the way of COVID-related issues with employees and employee reimbursement. Also, the administrator under this was under originally Greg Thompson, and as you're aware, he's no longer with us, so we've been locked out until last week. So we haven't submitted anything to the U.S. Treasury through Tallahassee and the Florida League of Cities, just so everybody's on one page. And then recently, yesterday, we had the first assembly of the ARPA Advisory Committee, in which they went over the guidelines and all the things, rules of engagement for that. And we're here now to get into community wants and needs and questions and answers, just to bring you up to speed. The city overall has experienced administrative delays. Basically, these things have happened over accumulation of time since March of 2021, since the resignation of Mr. Chandler Williamson. Since then, over this course of time, up until April, we've gone through 7 city managers. So that impact has been felt strongly throughout the delays that unfortunately has affected delivery of service. But we've worked hard as a current administration in rallying the troops. I appreciate the coming together of the commissioners, the way they've done as a team. We just need to move forward with reestablishing and restoring Pahokee. I hope that you guys can believe in the government again and trust again. We're here for the residents. With that said, moderator, I turn it back over to you.
At this time, we are going to have questions, if there are any questions. But if I may, I would just like to say we have several members of the ARPA board that are here, and we would just like the citizens to know that we will do our due diligence in making sure that we are making decisions that are best for the city of Pahokee. We will be looking out, and we will be doing what's best for the city. We don't have any hidden agendas, and all decisions that we make will be for the best interest for the city of Pahokee. So we will be having meetings. Meetings are open to the public. Meetings are advertised just like any other meetings. So all citizens are even welcome to come to the meetings. They can hear the dialogue that we're having, and they're welcome to come to the meetings. They will be given the 10-day notice, just like all other meetings. So if any citizens want to come to the meetings, you're welcome to come to the meetings. They will be up on the website. They also, I see they put them up on the marquee, so you can also come to those meetings as well. They're open, and you're welcome to come to hear the dialogue at those meetings as well. So at this time, if you have any questions, you can come to the mic and ask your questions. So does anyone have any questions? You can step to the mic.
Good afternoon, Everett McPherson, Pahokee, Florida. I heard you mention about the upgrades of Martin Luther King Park, some of the things that are going to be upgraded, but just a suggestion. Probably if you go out there at that park now, it probably looks like a lake, and the ground needs to be built up, and I think we need to have a total renovation of that park, including the bathrooms and everything. With some new equipment and all of those things. And also I was concerned about asking, maybe hoping that we could get a swimming pool in that area. I mean, I don't know if you have requesting any funding as far as the MLK Park is going, but I think we need to look at some of those things as far as swimming pools and, I mean, make it a state-of-the-art facility. If we're going to move forward, let's move it forward right.
Oh, man.
And my last question, and also Glade Citizen Village playground area. I don't have small kids, but I do have some nieces and nephews that may live in that area. Just a suggestion that we try to get some updated equipment for Glade Citizen Village. Also, my last question, what is the status of the opening of the restaurant, the Muck City Tavern?
Thank you, Mr. McPherson, for those questions. If I can go to MLK Park. So the first thing that we would have liked to done was to demuck, because we know it needs to be demucked. That happens so that when we have a new playground, technically it's kind of new, the new playground equipment that we installed, I believe it was 5 or 6 years ago. But, you know, wear and tear and things happen. We do understand that it needs to be demucked. $250,000 is not going to demuck. So we understand that we're kind of working backwards. We want to get new playground equipment because we only have the $250. If we are looking for other funding streams that will assist with doing other projects, because there are many things that we looked at doing. With the FDEP funding, that $250, it is a work plan. So when we submitted that legislative request, we had to put down the best things that we thought would fulfill those $250. Now, as I said before, costs have gone up. So what we're able to do right now is the playground and the walking path. When I spoke about the concession stands and the restroom, those funds, we're using general funds just to get those upgrades done because we know it needs to be done. You also spoke about a swimming pool. We would love to be able to do that, as well as put fencing around our parks. But again, it goes back to funding. It goes back to dollars. So when we're looking at our ARPA dollars, when we're going to the committee, taking that into consideration, we have ran numbers. We have already gotten quotes on different things, so we will be able to offer those quotes and have a general idea of what the cost is. Also, you spoke about Glade Citizens Villa, the playground out there. If you all remember, several years ago, one of our community residents had received a NEAT grant. And so we're looking at, because that's an area that needs to be demucked, where that playground is. So if we're open to suggestions of how we can go about getting that done, because putting playground equipment in there, and we have flooding, we had a grant for $635,000 for East Lake Village, and we put down new storm drains, we did some road repairs out there, but demucking and doing new storm drains in that area is a whole total different project. But we will look at certain areas and what the cost will be. So we are open to suggestions. And as I said, we know we have a lot of things that have to be done. Oh, and you want to answer that? As far as the restaurant is concerned?
Yes, to respond to your request for a status update, we do have a signed lease from Tallahassee now, and we have reached out to the holding company, and our goal is within the next 60 days for them to be operational. We have to have a transfer and walk-through process with them for them to officially take the building and make sure everything's right for them, and then they can do whatever minor renovations and then have their soft opening and then grand opening.
Good evening, Carl Morrison, Sr. I have a couple of questions. I got with the city manager earlier, but I think the public needs to know the question that I had in mind. First question, have we filled the position of a grant writing specialist? For the past couple of sessions in Tallahassee, the city had not received any funding. And I think it's very important as far as having a grant writing specialist to get funds into the city. That's the first question. Second question is dealing with how all the employees of the city of Pahokee have moved up to a minimum of $15 an hour. And if we have any part-time employees that's been here over a year, have they moved up to full-time? And if not, why? And also, Ms. Adams, you made a statement as for dealing with McClure Road, as for receiving funds of $933,430. I like to beg to differ. At that time, we received, I think it was 1.3 or 1.4 million. I checked my records at the house, but I know it was more than what you stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior. Appreciate it. Now, to address your first question about grant writer specialists, I just returned back April. We've been reviewing and interviewing quite a few people for open positions. That position does fall under community and economic development. I've realigned a portion of our organizational chart so that position would answer under Ms. Adams, and we are openly recruiting. We do have applications in. I will also look to place it in the National Forum for Black Public Administrators and some other sites to recruit. And as always, our first preference is to hire someone from Pahokee. And that's our goal, to recruit and then fill a position. Now, on all employees, full-time have been moved up to a minimum of $15. It was done this most recent pay period, but we retroactively went back to when the commission had approved it and brought them up to speed. We're working out the situations for part-time, and I've asked several people that have been part-time for some time, are they interested in full-time? And I probably 3 weeks ago, I got a nod from that person. We've had some recent vacations, so I hadn't had a chance to speak with some of the directors about individuals, but I assure you that conversation will happen, and those who are interested and meet our criteria of going into full-time, that will happen. Next, on your last point, well, did you, McClure? I'll let.
Mr. Morrison, so yes, the legislative request that we've submitted, when we submitted the application and we did it, it came up to 1.3 is what we requested. We only received funding for $34. So that is the funding amount that we received back from the state. We have an agreement. The agreement has been signed and executed, and it is for the amount of $933,934. But what we submitted to them was the million, I believe it was $1.3 million.
Mr. Lucas, if I could, just a follow-up question on the employment status, the hiring status. We recently had a job fair a couple weeks back, and I believe we have already interviewed several candidates for positions. I'm just putting this out because there has been some concern or some complaints about not having follow-up status on those positions, and I'm more concerned with the individuals who have actually interviewed. Just as a courtesy, I think we should at least notify them that the position is either filled or not, and maybe a time frame when you expect it to be filled, so they're not just on a hold status. Some folks are looking at other employment, but want to certainly have Pahokee as a preference if they could. So I just want to bring that to your attention.
I appreciate it, Mayor. And for the general public and the candidates that have applied, I apologize. As we go through the selection process, if an offer is made, we have to wait to make sure that person is cleared. An offer is contingent upon background check, physical, and things like that. So it takes a little time, Mayor, for that to happen, but no one's trying to not respond. But in these days and times, you have to be very careful. So I apologize for not responding appropriately, but we're pending on some situations. So I take the blame for that.
Also, my second follow-up question, you mentioned the ways that the ARPA money can be spent. Did you give that information to the current ARPA board last night so they can at least start having some thoughts and some ideas on what type of recommendation they want to move forward with? And would you also share that with the commission? I know it's in the ARPA ruling and law, but I don't know if all of us have those that information.
No problem. Ms. Boulay Washington will make sure that the things she hand out to the advisory board, we will make sure we get the final packet of what you can eligibly use the money for to the commissioners again. Also, last night, in an effort, because we're behind, staff and I put together a template that we have to fill out as overseers for the money. Without any background, without any consideration, I laid it on the advisory committee, so I got some pushback. But I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I was just trying to be helpful in the process, because and bottom line is I don't want my 5 bosses to be mad if we miss a window on getting this money submitted and the things we're going to spend it on, because we're a little behind on the timeline. But the time I was there, we have a very diverse and very dynamic advisory committee. I look forward to receiving all their input, Mayor. I hope they do sincerely take my apology as sincere, and I appreciate their candidness. And I just look forward to helping inroads into rebuilding Pahokee. Yes, Ms. Boulay. Come to a mic.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ms. Boulay. I'm the Assistant Director of the Community Economic Development Department for our great city of Pahokee. Just a quick point of clarification, or just to piggyback off of what Mr. Lucas just stated, and to also answer your question, Mayor. I did go over the ARPA review packet with our committee, and we were very, very thorough about it. Questions were asked. There were exciting dialogue going on, and we're looking forward to our next meetings. We have recessed so that we are able to have you come in and select your chair, and our committee vote on our vice chair, in addition to our secretary. So everyone has been pretty much brought to speed. I put my teacher hat on and gave everyone homework. So we are coming back to the table with lots of fruitful conversation, and we are looking forward to what we can come together as a unit to push Pahokee forward into the 21st century. Thank you.
Okay. And also, did the package include some of the ideas that other cities was using their resources for? Just as a comparison during the deliberation.
So in our next meeting, we're going to share that information with them. It's the overview packet as well as the final rule packet. It's very girthy. The overview packet is 44 pages. And the final rule packet is 117 pages, I believe. So it's filled with a lot of technical jargon that's related to the Treasury and financial accountability and things of that nature. So I wanted to keep my my committee members, and I did not want to bombard them with a lot of information. I wanted them to soak in that overview first, and then we come back to the table with the meats and potatoes of what everyone is looking for to bring into the city and retrieve funds to support the city for.
While you're there, Mayor, may I speak?
Yes.
What we could do, Mayor, is what staff had done is I reached out to the surrounding cities, Belglade, and I reached out to South Bay for copies of their ARPA and how they use their money to kind of draft a frame. So I'm more than glad to give that to Ms. Boulay, Washington, so she could share it with them. And then hopefully within the next couple of weeks or 3 weeks, not to push the committee, we can frame and come up with a solution so we can get caught up on the timelines for the money.
We're game, right, guys? I have a very solid group. I am confident in my group. We have a great makeup of all of our active members in this community, and they are all looking out for the best interest of this community, so I am confident that we can get it done. This is just a sample of what the overview packet looks like, just to kind of give you an idea of what Mr. Lucas was expounding upon. He pretty much gave you all a brief summary of the meats and potatoes of what the ARPA dollars cover. So we kind of went through that at length, and again, everyone got their homework assignments, so we're all coming back to the table when we reconvene from our recess, pick our officers, and then move on from there.
So did we already get a pack that?
What we can do is have the link posted on our city's webpage as well as our city's social media pages, and then we can also provide a packet to our mayor and commission as well. So you can have the overview. The overview may be a better source because the final rule is very lengthy. I would suggest to use it as maybe a glossary or a point of reference. So,
Ms.
yes.
Boulay,
Sir?
could just send me the PDF of the whole packet.
Okay.
And then I'll get it to all commissioners so they have it personally themselves so they can review it.
Will do.
Is that fine with you, Commissioner Perez?
Yeah, especially if it's that many pages.
It's a lot. But it's fruitful, and I'm confident we can get it done.
I'll say I have a question. As far as the committee members, everybody is pretty much clear on the power dynamics in terms of the committee being
Advisory.
basically not a mandated committee by the U.S. Treasury Department, but their input this is about citizens' input, not their power to make decisions. Ultimately, that lies on the commission. I think it's important for every member of the committee to understand that. Also, Mr. Lucas, according to the U.S. Treasury Department, was correct in seeing what other municipalities are doing with their ARPA funds. That is also suggested. Okay, so I think it's very important for everyone to know what their role is when it comes down to the ARPA committee, the ARPA funds, and what we should and should not or be able to do, what's suggested and not even mandated. A lot of these things are suggestions. We have a guideline. So I think it's important for everyone to know what they have the power to do and not to do in this process. I know it's pretty lengthy. I'm on page 75. I get it. So I'm reading it. I just want to make sure everybody knows what their role is. So.
Yes, to answer your question, Commissioner Bolden, from the inception of our meeting, it has been established that this committee is an advisory committee. However, the recommendations are strongly considered. We do not want to negate the fact that they are community members, and we do value their opinions. However, we did make sure, we did impress upon our members that they are sharing advice, they are sharing strong recommendations, and we are strongly considering them. However, what I shared with them as well is that if something is not considered or maybe one of the items that we choose to support, we can entertain the idea of supporting it in other ways or through other funding sources. So I do not believe in throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think all ideas are good ideas. It's like when, the teacher tells you no question is a dumb question, right? So we take those same concepts in mind, and because we want to encourage our residents to continue being participatory in all the things that we're doing in our community, and we do not want to shun them. However, we did impress upon them that it is an advisory committee.
And just to follow up on those other two questions so we just don't leave them hanging, the first one I recall is the status of the Marina restaurant. That was actually scheduled to open July 4th. However, the group have pushed that back now to mid to late August. And my question to Mrs. Joslin is whether or not they are consistently working up there to do whatever they need to do to continue to keep that on track of opening sometime in August.
Yes,
I know
sir.
they have the keys, but I just want to make sure that they're on task of doing that.
Yes, sir. Actual walkthrough was scheduled for last Tuesday, but that got postponed. So we are looking to reschedule next week so that I can do a walkthrough, and we've already identified, I have the contract for Terminex so that we can go out and get extermination done for both the restaurant as well as the conference room of the marina. So we are in the process of doing a walkthrough. We have identified such as fencing around the pool area and the restaurant. So I have a quote for the fence so that we can look at getting that upgraded and completed. And then there are some other things that have been identified just from the city side, but as I said, we will schedule a walkthrough next week with Mr. Mann so that we can get all those things taken care of.
Okay. And the next question was the Glade Citizen Village playground equipment. I know you mentioned the fact that we received a grant a couple years ago. It might have fact probably been a little at 5 years. That's $5,000 just been sitting in an account. And you also mentioned the fact that you're up and would look for suggestions. But as a city, we just got to find a way to at least get that playground done. These are residents who own homes, they have children, and they've been asked for that for years. So I'm just pushing us as a commission and a city to see what we can do. I know one of the suggestions was there was a vacant lot that was a lot more feasible to putting that equipment there, maybe trying to see if we can exchange our swap our land with the current landowner of that property. But whatever ideas, I just want this community to know that we are exploring and looking forward to trying to get those playground equipment out there, because we've been promising them for many years that we would do that.
Yes, and we did explore that idea of swapping out, so that is a suggestion, as well as going ahead and demucking that area, and that's why I mentioned putting those storm drains down and getting that demucked. So getting that funding to be able to do that, even if we have to do the match for it.
Did we cover the splash pad? Because we're already in the summer and it's very hot.
Okay, so we have wonderful news. Yesterday, a company came out from the splash pad and gave us a quote. We have surtax funds that we can use for part of the splash pad, but for us to do the complete splash pad, the gentleman and Mr. Pickney is on vacation for Parks and Recs, but the gentleman did tell staff that it would be October when we could get the splash pad fully functioning the correct way, but it's possible to be done. So we're hoping to have those funds, looking at the ARPA funds to be a part of that, to be able to correct it, but we do have money from surtax that we can use to go ahead and at least be able to put down to get that.
Do we know what the cost is going to be?
I don't know what the cost. He was supposed to submit today the final cost, but it would cover getting the motor and all of that functioning, as well as sealing and painting. We will go ahead. We've also, the staff week before last, I believe, we submitted a grant, the NEAT grant, to also be able to use some of those funds towards that. So as soon as we have the cost from the company that came out yesterday, I will get that to you.
And that will be upgraded, like more modernized, more
Yes,
up-to-date?
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Not just repaired?
No, not just repair. We brought up the upgrade.
Excuse me, Ms. Adams. Are we going to make sure that we have a system for the splash pad that actually recycles? Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
I have one question, here you go over, is the floating docks on the marina. Where are we with that?
Vice Mayor, we are, what we've done is we've blocked off sections, Dock D, E, and F, and have marked them as dangerous and under construction to reduce any liability and exposure. We are in the process of getting bids for what it would take to either completely replace or repair that section of the marina. So we are in that process.
When you're getting bids, are they like bids like regular ITBs that you put out and you advertise and you do all that? Is that how the bids are?
When we get ready to put out the bids for the marina, we will put out an actual ITB or RFP or a request for information, depending on what it is, but the bid will be submitted the proper way. for anything that we're doing with the marina, because we know that is a substantial project.
So to answer your, to let all the commissioners know, we are in the process of doing an assessment with the building official. So Mr. Duval is, it's DeWitt Duval. So we have the building official from CAP going out to all our city properties, including the marina, and he's assessing what the cost, his estimate of what that cost is to repair or replace that item. So as he gives a report, I plan on passing that on to the commissioner so you guys see what I see, and then that'll be the basis for us doing the bid when we do the bid out to the public to get contractors to restore the marina.
Yeah, because here's my concern. My concern is that we want to put it out because we want multiple bidders, not only getting the most feasible bidder, but one that's qualified, not running out of time at the last minute, hiring whoever we want, or hiring, like in the past, any Tom or Dick or Harry, permits were not pulled, you know, so now there's mishap, and you cannot go after anybody. I want to make sure that the ITBs are, when they go out, that the homework is done, that the engineer does a very good job, because like I keep saying, I have never seen an ITB where if you find anything that you bid it on, that you get extra money or that the city has to come in. When you put out a bid, whatever it is, whether you make money or you lose money, that's your problem, because that is the bid that you put, and based on that amount, that's where you got that job. So this is where I'm having the problem that happened in the past, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to be on top of it, because it's going to have to be done right. Whatever that contract that ITB says, that's what's going to be on there. I'm not on that, you know, doing these additional vouchers or changing orders. That to me, that's not clear, that's not transparent, and that's not correct. It's not. Do it right from the beginning. And if it needs extra thing, then put it out. Put the extra thing out for bid somewhere else. And another one.
We'll make sure that the performance bond is required as well,
Yes.
so that way things are,
The right amount.
regardless of how they bid it, they own up to it.
Commissioner Perez, to respond to that, when contracts are put out and invitation to bids are issued, the projects always have a contingency amount in those. When they are bid, every project comes in and every contractor will bid and have a contingency amount in it. That is what the change orders are against, because any project will have things in it that are undeterminable, because in a city that's 100 years old, there are things that are underground that you cannot predict. There are price changes, especially with supply chain issues, that you cannot predict. That is why you have that contingency in the project. So any project we do, there will be change orders, but that's why when you sign a contract, that contingency amount is already in the project. It's already allocated for as part of the contract. So you're just approving to spend part of that contingency funding. All right?
So okay, in the case of Realback, okay, the amount was 700 and some thousand. They bid it 500. So there's 200 and some $1,000 that, you know, like you said, contingency. So whatever is found, you know, if it's agreed upon, you know, the the engineer, right? The contractor and the engineer, it comes to you guys and it's already approved.
It will be spelled out when you approve the contract what that contingency amount is, yes, that can be allocated for change orders, for additional engineering that needs to be done, for price changes, for additional work that happens because, like on a road project, if there needs to be an additional driveway because something happens, additional curb cuts, additional footage of sidewalk. In the case of the marina, if there's an additional electrical work that happens because something happens, there are things that happen. I have been dealing with municipal projects for nearly 20 years. I have never had a project that we did not have to come into that contingency amount because I've never worked in a city that was just established and all of the infrastructure was brand new. No engineer can predict what is underground that somebody else did that was not properly documented. That is why there are change orders. That is what happens, is somebody in the past, 50, 60, 20 years ago, did not properly document their work so that the engineers, when they put together their invitation to bid, could not put out an accurate project bid so that the bidders knew exactly what they were bidding on. Or they could not predict, like now, skyrocketing inflation. Month of May, 8.6% inflation. Contractors can bid a project right now and try to guess what the cost of the supplies are going to be when they do the project in 6 months, but they can't guarantee that when they order it, that the price of those things have not gone up. Those are the challenges that we're going to come into.
Well, to answer that part of your thing, it doesn't matter if you turn in the bid and the cost goes up. Guess what? You still got to supply that cost. We do contracts all the time, and fuel is sky high. But then guess what? We're losing money on the fuel because that's what we bid it on. So I know how the bids work. And when you say contingency, who puts the contingency? The city, the contractor, who's the one that puts that contingency? When you turn in your ITB, or you put it out when you put out the ITB?
When the engineer develops the package, the bid package, he develops for the city a cost estimate that includes a contingency of what he expects the projects to come back in as a cost, which includes contingency. And the contractors will come back and bid, and when that contract comes in, we will compare it, and the contractors' bids will include a contingency amount. And so you're going to be looking and say, okay, they bid this much as a contingency and we are anticipating this much. Do we agree to that? You can decide to negotiate the contingency down. That is the city's option. But keep in mind, you could potentially lose all of your bidders if you decide that you're not going to agree to any change orders in a project for any reason, and you hold that line. They'll say, you know what, we're not going to take the risk on the city.
I think if we have a engineer, like, I mean, this road had not seen a day of light for 20 years, so you would imagine, you know, that it's a complete reconstruction, just like that bit over there on Realback. It said it wasn't just to drench the canal. It also called for replacing some of the pipes.
But again, they're doing a complete reconstruction, but that doesn't cover knowing what the costs are to pull out everything that's there, because they don't know what they're going to run into that was already there, that someone put in the ground before them that wasn't documented.
And also, our funders require a contingency to be in there, whether it's FDOT, FDEP, Palm Beach County contingencies. They require us to put that contingency in there, as well as a bond. All of our contractors have to have a bond, and that bond, we get a copy of the bond is submitted. Risk management keeps a copy of it as well. So we have those things in place.
Do you think is accurate when the job is 500,000 and their bond is 25? See, they walked out. What if FDEP don't give the money? We're stuck with that.
Commissioner Perez, maybe at some point we can have a workshop, but I think what the city is operating on is how all cities operate. I know it may be different in the private sector where
We bid on government contracts, so
Yeah,
it's
but
not private, it's government. With other counties and...
You're really looking at the way the city operate like it's operating a lot different from any other city. This is standard operating procedure for cities. That's how a city does business when they do contract.
Excuse me, Mayor Babb. I have a question for Lynn.
Yes, sir.
So if we accept the bid for $500,000 and we say we're not paying you a penny more, and the company starts on the project and they find something unexpected, what's likely to happen?
What's likely to happen? They will stop the project and say, this is as far as we can go. We have reached the maximum amount of what you've authorized us to spend, and we cannot complete any more work.
So this is why we get estimates or approximations. It's not a precise number.
Correct.
There's a plus minus, which justifies the contingency, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
And also, those change orders, when you come to us with the change orders, all the due process with that change order has taken place beforehand.
Right. And I'll be happy to discuss this with you further in a work session or one-on-one. So.
Okay, in the case of the first work order that you got for Barfield Highway.
You want to speak? I know. You want to speak?
That
Okay.
was not approved, but it was done, and then the commission went ahead and approved it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Perez. We have
Mr. Watts want to make a comment. I just want to, just one project I didn't think we covered, the townhome project on Barfield. Could you give the status of that, when groundbreaking is expected, or what's the status?
Mr. Snodgrass, the owner of the construction company doing the contract at Everglades Townhomes at 200 South Barfield, is planning within the next 45 to 60 days of groundbreaking. He's getting his crews together to come down this way. He has to get in his construction plans and everything for us to approve over in building permit. Also, he's wanting to do a second phase, and he's finishing numbers or the drawing renderings for the second phase as well. Plus, there's other opportunities he wants to bring forth as well.
Okay.
So that's the status of where we're at, and hopefully this week I'll know more towards a groundbreaking for what's just been approved by the ZAP board.
Okay. Mr. Walks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Commissioner, staff, residents. Colin Walks, resident, City of Pahokee. Question about safety on, this would be South Lake, I think we call it 7th Street, South Lake, that goes into 441, I think it's called Belglade Road. I know portions of it is within the city, portions of it is within the county, so I know we may have to enter into some type of relationship with our county to get this concern addressed. But the concerns are sidewalks. If you're walking on that thoroughfare there are no sidewalks for our citizens to walk on. So as we receive the ARPA money. I hope that we can consider that. Also with our surtax dollars, I hope we can consider that. Also lighting, not only sidewalks, but lighting. Those of us residents that live here, you know, we see, and not only those of us that are driving the cars, but those of us that are walking, you know, we're put in a precarious situation within that thoroughfare. Also in that thoroughfare where Muck City Road, State Market Road, and Belglade Road intersect, that's a pretty dangerous area where people are guessing how to move within that area. So we have to think about lighting in that area. So those are my areas of concern as we address our infrastructure within the city. Also on South Lake 7th Street, the curve that curves around, the vegetation is extremely overgrown.
Yes.
So I don't know how we can address that immediately through Public Works, or maybe we have to put together a project to get it done. But those are just safety concerns that I see within the city that citizens are constantly bringing to attention of those of us that live within that area. Thank you so very much for hearing my concerns.
So why don't they?
Mr.
In-
Woods, if I could, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and staff, I just want to add to that under the safety items, we have major potholes, we have problem with sidewalks, and then the issue with the storm drains that's not in tight or just not there at all. A major liability for the city and a major safety hazard.
Correct.
Ms. Walton, do have a meeting set Monday with some of the county staff coming out for those themes, some of my concerns from the last 4 years now.
Yes.
So especially with the overgrown vegetation, I know some of it is not city, I know some state, some county, but we do have people from the county coming over looking at that next week. Also, like the bus stop over there where the railroad track to where they tore the house down. So I'm trying to ask the county if they can lever all of the vegetation and do an off-the-road bus stop.
Correct.
Because it is needed in that area. They took it away because it was by the railroad track.
Yes.
So I do have someone from the county coming over on Monday to look at some of that area and also the lighting, and that's what we're gonna focus on some of that on Monday.
Excellent. And the other concern, before I was remiss, residents that live on the canal there, that in the same area that we're talking about, once again, a lot of trash, debris, and they're asking, you know, for education to be done. You know, we live on waterways, so they're asking that education, that our residents are reminded that they live on the waterway, you know, not to allow tires, mattresses, and these type of things to go into the water. So if we can just address them through education.
If I could, we actually scheduled our town hall from 5 to 6:30. It's already past 6:30. But what I like now is to have each of the staff or commission just do a brief comments, and then we can conclude if there's nothing else we had pertinent that we wanted to try to accomplish. And again, this is going to be on a quarterly basis at a minimum. We're going to get together with our residents and our public to discuss things, how we can move forward.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, Ms. Williams. I was just speaking with our Public Works Director. We'll be able to pick up Monday or Tuesday, the latest, the coal packs to start filling in the potholes. So we can start that next week, sir.
Could you explain that to me? Say coal pipes to fill in?
Coal patch.
Coal patch. And so the coal patch will allow them to fill some of those potholes.
Okay, the potholes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm thinking
Yes,
about
sir.
storm drains.
No,
I'm
coal
saying,
patch
I hope
will-
you don't feel
yes.
the storm drains.
And we are
Okay.
working on the storm drain. So we have that in
Okay.
process. They're right now pulling some quotes so that we can make sure that we get those drains covered. We know we have several drains throughout the area that whether they are just open and empty or we're filling them with plywood or anything, and that has deteriorated. We are in the process of getting those filled right now.
Okay, Vice Member, and I want to say thank you for that. That was one of my concerns, the bus stop. And I know we did go and talk about 4 years ago about that bus stop, because we do see people still walking there, and no bus stop has been put there, and there is no light in there, and you always see people walking there. But before start with the comments, I would just like to say, let's not forget about Juneteenth that's coming up on the 18th. We're looking for all citizens to come out. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a lot of vendors out there, and we want to come out, show Pahokee, show everybody in the Glades region that we can work together, have a good time, and we're going to have a good time. We have a lot of entertainment, and so we're looking forward to seeing everybody up on the marina on June 18th for Juneteenth, and we're going to have a good time. And so we're going to now start with our comments, and I'm going to start with Mr. Lucas with your final comments, please.
I appreciate all input from the community. It's been super supportive. The people here, everyone cares about the community, have great pride. It makes me happy and staff happy to come to work. We're eager to come and try to prove we're here and to get results done. So in these next couple commission meetings, as we get resolutions done and freeing up dollars to start on these projects, and as we get the final pieces with ARPA done with the advisory committee, we'll be able to start seeing results and also simultaneously do things. It'll start improving. People pick up pride as we start cleaning the streets, painting new lines, as we start picking up, maybe have corporate sponsorship with people saying, hey, I want to be the sponsor for this side of town for trash pickup, things like that, do challenges. There's a lot of things we're looking forward to doing here in Pahokee. I have great commissioners that have great ideas, and I look forward to administering all that we can with the help of the citizens and their input. Staff is not here to circumvent or belittle anyone. I have an open door. We're rectifying things at City Hall. The last 3 weeks we've had phones issues. We probably need a new phone system. But I do appreciate everybody's patience as we come back online and restore the faith you have in your city and restore order for the citizens, and they can have pride in their community. I love the stories you tell about how it used to be. We're going to get it back there as a team, and I appreciate all your input and all the things you guys are helping us to do and see. We don't have all answers, but we're here to make a difference with you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to have Ms. Adams.
Thank you all, everyone, for coming out, for watching us. If you're watching online, we appreciate it. Just reiterate what Mr. Lucas said, we're here as a team. We're working for the city. If you have any suggestions, comments, if you want to volunteer, we love volunteers. You're welcome to give us a call. You can come up to the City Hall and, chip in. However, if you have suggestions, we can't do it on our own, so we need your input because it is our city, and we want to make sure we have the best city. We know we have the best city in Palm Beach County in the state of Florida, so we want to continue to hold true to that. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Next, Commissioner Gonzalez.
Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Lucas for the job you're doing for us. I know it's not an easy one. Only 2 questions. Whatever happened with the dryer and wash at the RV park at the campground? Yes. Are you working on it? Okay. And another thing in Shive Island, down Apple Street, they have a lot of flooding. They want to get it resolved because the drainage is not draining out. And thank you all the citizens. Thanks to all the citizens that showed up. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gonzalez. Commissioner Perez.
I'd just like to thank everyone for attending, for watching on YouTube. I want to encourage everybody, everyone in the community, please get involved. Get involved. Don't just be home and listen to, the word in the street. If you cannot watch here, if you cannot attend, come to us and ask us whatever it is that you want to know. I've always said it. We all want the same thing. We all do. Some have different, agendas, and they want to be in the limelight or whatever. We need to just forget about this. There's no I in team. We're all a team, and until we all get together and start working together, we're not going to advance. We need to not only work together, but be transparent on everything that we do and do the things the way that it should be done. Run the city like a governmental agency needs to run, not like it had been in the past. And I know Mr. Lucas is working on doing that and putting people in place and what have you, and hopefully it could be run professionally so that we don't have to look at every line and everything, because yes, I have no trust. I'm sorry. I'm working from, you want trust, you have to earn it, because we have trust too much in the past, and look where it's gotten us. So I'm the one that looks at everything, asks all kinds of questions, and if I gotta throw you out under the bus, I'm gonna throw you, because people are gonna know who did it, why they did it, and how come they did it. And if anything that I do, I am responsible. I take responsibility. So with that being said, there's a lot of things in the pipeline, and I just pray to God that we could get this done, because the citizens deserve it. And most of all is the next generation. Our kids, our grandkids, they deserve to have better. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez. Commissioner Mervin.
First, I'd like to thank all of our citizens that came out and braved the storm of this weather. Also, the ones that are watching by Facebook or YouTube. I would like to thank our staff. I think all our employees are out doing a fantastic job. When you ride through the city, you see they're really working hard for the city of Pahokee. So I take my hat off to all of our staff in the city of Pahokee. Thank you, Mr. Lucas, Jocelyn, and Mrs. Washington for all of your hard work. Also, I thank the ARPA committee. I think the ARPA committee, we know that it's just an advisory board, but just for them to step up and to volunteer, I think it's a plus to say that they want best for the city of Pahokee. And I really believe that they, along with the other residents, will do what's right. Our city is in great need of a lot of stuff. We listen to 3.2 million for a city, that's no money. So, but we know that it can tackle some projects. So I'm with Mr. Morrison as far as with this grant writer, that if you had a grant writer that would help go after other funds from, other than what we get from state, county, and federal. So, but I am enthused about what's happening in the city of Pahokee. We are on the right track for the city of Pahokee, and I will just hope and pray that we can stay together as a team and work towards and take ourselves out of the picture and put Pahokee as a whole, that when one road is done, it's for all of us. All of us gain when this Barfield is done. We all travel that road. So that's a plus for all of our citizens. So I would just want to thank everyone for coming out and thank our citizens for getting involved in our city of Pahokee. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Mervin. Mayor Babb.
I also want to thank all of our residents for participating in our town hall meeting. This is going to be done on a quarterly basis. We're going to continue to keep the public and the community input at forefront. And we need to work as a team as much as possible. Practice what you preach. For this last year, we've been stagnated and haven't moved forward. We are going to see some progress in this city. A lot of the projects that was noted tonight is past projects that's been on the books and been on the board for quite a while. Because of the delay, we're so far behind. But we got to work together. We don't always have to agree with each other, but we need to put this city forth and foremost in front of us and move it. The Centennial Committee, I commend them. I commend them for the job that they have been doing to heighten the activity of our community. And everybody's not even on board with that, not even commissioners. So everyone needs to get on board. And if we do that, we will move the city forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Babb. Commissioner Bolden.
Yes, I'd like to thank everyone for attending, those who are physically here and those who are watching on YouTube. I want to just say it's important for us to understand, guys, that this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. And we're going to have to be extremely resilient. We're going to have to be in this for the long haul. And we're going to have to be optimistic about what we're doing here. No, everything is not going to be done perfectly. But the goal is to move forward in the best possible way we can. I think we have a very talented group of individuals working on behalf of the city. And we need to approach everything with some optimism. And it starts with us. Here on the dais. It starts with us. We have to be optimistic and we have to do our due diligence. Whether that requires reading something and understanding. If you don't understand something, ask the questions. Mr. Lucas makes himself available for you to ask any questions to. Other staff members as well. Let's do our due diligence and serve our community as we should, because we were elected to do so. It begins with us. So let's be optimistic as a group. And let's project that out into the community as well so they can be optimistic about things, all right? Of course, a lot of bad things have happened. But I'm the type of person, I glance into the rearview mirror. I don't stare in it, okay? I glance, I don't stare. Because if I'm going to move forward without crashing, I need to project into the future. Every now and then I can look back. But we need to move forward. And that's what this is all about, moving forward with optimism. I have nothing else to say.
I have two additional announcements. Thank you, Commissioner Bolden. I have two additional announcements. On July 4th, we will have 4th of July on the marina. And there also will be a back-to-school bash on August the 4th with free book bags as August the 6th. On August the 6th, free book bags. They don't have on here. Is that going to be at the marina also? It's going to be here, August the 6th here, free book bag giveaway as well. So that's going to be a back-to-school bash. What time? 10 to 2. And the 4th of July starts at what time? From 5 to 8 for the 5 to 9. 5 to 9 for the 4th of July on the marina. That's going to be from 5 to 9. And the back-to-school bash is going to be here at the Etta Lee Rose Gym on August the 6th. Free book bag giveaway, and it starts at 10 o'clock. So on behalf of the citizens of Pahokee, we would like to say thank you to the commissioners, the employees of Pahokee. We want to say that we love you all. We thank you all for all that you do, and we're going to do everything that we can to work with you and to support you. Thank you. We love you, and good night.